Hello, my name is David Cotton, C-O-T-T-O-N, and I want to tell you about how I got started in drawing in art. It started right here in this little town where there's these two houses are pictured. That's my hometown, and I was up there visiting. I painted this picture of my wife and my grandson. But this is how it all started. When I was little, I used to visit the country every summer. And one summer when I was about 5 years old, my cousin, who was 2 or 3 years older than me, asked me if I knew how to draw a star. And I proceeded to put a dot on the paper, and he showed me how to draw a 5-point star without lifting a pencil. And that fascinated me, and I started drawing stars. That was a calendar, an almanac on the wall with the moon. So I learned how to draw the moon, which is round, and put the face in it. Besides a full moon, we had a half moon and we had a quarter moon. And from there, I love horses. I started drawing horse heads. So after a while, I learned how to put the body and the neck to the horse. And by the time I came back home from the country that summer and started school, I was drawing. And from then on, I was always the best drawer in my class. By 5th grade, I was the best drawer in the whole school. I was drawing for all the teachers, and the nativity scenes and things like that. My principal noticed me, and there were some classes offered at Dillard University on Saturdays for talented young students. So in 5th grade, she sent me to Dillard on a Saturday under Dr. Winslow. Then I learned how to make masks, to do a little sculpture, and that gave me more and more confidence. From then on, I was hooked on art. I learned how to color. There wasn't but 3 colors in the box then. I was red, blue, and yellow. You learn how to make green, you learn how to make orange, you learn how to paper with the colors you had. This only added to my fascination and my knowledge about drawing in art. By the time I went to high school, my elective was always art. So I started studying a class of art every year from 9th grade to 12th grade. I was determined to be an artist from then on. After the storm, all this was water. Water stopped at Carteret Street. And St. Charles Street was the first dry street up here where it didn't flood. And I lost most of my paintings. Watercolor, pastel, and pencil ink, pen ink, all that was lost through the storm. So other than my oil paintings, I had to start over. So what we have now is what I've done. I managed to do after the flood. I sit on the ground right there. So I was rescued in this block where the bus picked us up and brought us out to the causeway. And then later on, the bus picked us up and brought us to Texas. And that's part of my recovery.
In those days, you couldn't write a check. There was no banking here. There was nothing here after the hurricane. It was all closed. We all knew how bad it was, what they all lost and all that stuff. And I asked him, I said, do you have any left? He says, yeah. But I didn't have them in the house. I had them in storage. Well, can I look at them? He said, sure. And it didn't take long. I bought 4 of them and gave him enough money he could live for at least 6 months without that. The way in the back here, that's the cathedral. This, he did only maybe 2 or 3, something similar to it. The reason why I got it was the way the glass looks like. You can almost see the depths of it. This is old New Orleans. What you see here, that was built 250, 300 years ago.
While in grade school, there was a teacher from Xavier University, an aspiring teacher. He was studying to be a teacher, but he was sent to our school to do some work afternoon with kids who lack art in school. So I joined that group. He was the first one to take me out on drawing tours. We could walk from school to Jackson Avenue where they had an old church, and that was my first taste of drawing perspective. This is the first on-site drawing I ever tried, drawing this church in perspective and trying to show this brick. We were sitting right over there at the time, a class of about 5. This building was established by the Germans who hid the bricks during the war because they didn't want the Union forces to take the bricks. But after the war, they pulled the bricks out and they started building the churches. There were 2 kinds of German churches, the Orthodox and I think the Reformed church. But this building was built in the 1800s and it's just as solid as it is now. I'm only sorry that I missed the building across the street, which was the Sarah Mayo Hospital, the only hospital in town at the time that ladies could practice. They did not allow ladies in the major hospitals, so they had to have their own hospital. It was called Women's Dispensary at first, and then later on it joined the Sarah Mayo chain. The last time I was over there was about in 1943 when I cut my feet at school and I hobbled down here and got treated and went back. But this is part of the Irish Channel, but there's a lot of Germans who lived in the neighborhood and who were successful merchants, store owners. In fact, that was their first calling because they didn't want them doing much else. They also could teach black people. Some of them taught at Dillard and some of them taught at other private schools. Because at the time, it was white and black, which was a no-no. But they were brave enough and conscientious enough to try to help those needy people who were under them. While working for the Christian Advocate, some of the bishops and higher up saw me working and told me if I wanted a scholarship to school after high school, I could get it on the work program just like I was working there. I could work in college, but it was going to be a Methodist education, Methodist church, school affiliated with the Methodists. I think it's called Bishop or something, up around Tennessee, Nashville, something like that. And they wanted me to take a religion and possibly be a pastor. I never thought of that. I never gave my answer yes or no, but I didn't think that was my line, so I hadn't made up my mind by the time I got hurt. One Sunday afternoon, I brought my mother to church like I normally do on Sundays. And after church, I went to pick her up that night. And it was drizzling, raining, and the car stopped. And I got out, checked it out, looked at the trunk, and while I was in the back of the car, a car ran up behind me, didn't see me, and crushed my legs between the 2 bumpers of the car. I came to it, I realized something was wrong, but I knew I'd been hit. And I knew I couldn't get up. By then, everybody had heard the crash that was coming out. And somebody was kind enough to get me a pillow, because I was laying in the gutter. And somebody got a sheet to put over me until the ambulance came. My friends found out that I was hurt around the corner, so they ran around there. So I had a job before and after school working for the Christian Advocate. The Christian Advocate is a religious magazine put out by the Methodist Publishing House, which gave information to all the local Methodist churches, the black Methodist churches, because they dealt with, at that time, they were dealing with primarily with the black Methodist churches. I told my friend where to find the keys to the office and what to do, because I wasn't going to be able to come to work the next day. I said, I don't know how long I'll be out, but I'm going to be out for a couple of days because of what I had done. And the ability to think while on the ground with both legs broken, they and tell my friend what to do in my place, they thought that was kind of courageous. So they had a nice write-up on me about the courage I had saved, how brave I was, and what had happened to me in the Advocate. Little did I know I was out the rest of my. I never went back. I convalesced in the hospital for about 2 years. Anyway, both legs were broken, and through about 10 operations, they were able to save one. But I lost one. I'm painting a monotone picture, not much color. Shades of brown, sepia-like. And I'm trying to capture the city. So I'll put some elements of New Orleans in it. Make sure that it's the city. I'll probably paint from up down, or from back forward. I'm painting thin now. Thin layer painting. I'll be painting fat over lean. That means I'll use my heavier colors later on when I'm finishing up and editing. And I'll just do a little light painting to get me started. Yeah, here we go. I'll be painting and wiping, because I want to keep everything soft. In this stage, painting this process step by step by step. I'll make a few steps now, see if I can get me a middle range brown. I'm mixing a little white and brown so that I could get a range that I want. Not too dark and not too light. Something I could edit it a little bit later on if I need to. All right. That's better. I don't want not a color that's too imposing in here. I want to keep it down where it'll be where I can lighten up a darker, keep it in the middle range. I like that color. I like that color so much that I might put another one in here right there. Okay. And I'll come back later on and have an indication of the windows without being too fussy. Do these. I got dark here already. I'll try this out, make the darker part in here. I won't let that stay there. I'll soften all these colors that I put in. That'll soften them up a little bit. And also tone. And I put my liquid in there. That'll spread that paint out a little bit. I'll make it a little bit darker. As I spread it. That's turret. That's unique to New Orleans. So I think I'll keep that. I'll just put that on top of it. There's a rich environment for the arts. There is so much to say about the culture of the city and art that you never can say it all. Whether that be the weather, the events, what they do on the weekend, church gatherings. When I saw the drawings, I had no idea that I was going to turn into a painting. I would just be doing something because I saw something that caught my eye. Maybe it was the way a lady was dressed, or the choir was singing, or the preacher was preaching. All those things were noteworthy to me. I would catch second lines, the gathering and dancing, and I'd jot those down, turn those into paintings. I had nightclub, the bands, all the bands. Those are some of the things in New Orleans that's worth capturing to me. I think that every artist tries to say something about his time in life, what was happening, how he felt about it, how you can show people how you feel about that. I think I add a little bit more of my brown to it, tone it in, so it won't be so flat. Yeah, I don't want this to be. I'll just let it go like this. Okay. Have them there. Let the focus go to this guy. Mm-hmm. This building would be the key. This building would be the key, how far up, how far down. And because this building will give me a sense of where this building is going to be. According to the sidewalk, how wide the street is. That'll be from here to here, from here to here. All that'll be street now. We have to work that out. Painting is just a process of solving problems. Once you get into it like this, especially with my eyesight being what it is now. But I have given an idea skyscrapers in the back. We have skyscrapers all over the United States. But how can you know that this skyscraper is in New Orleans? That's the thing. How to set this in New Orleans? I put a post here. I put a post here straight. Never straighten that up. I put a light post. The kind of light post you only find in New Orleans. I put it right there. Then I have another one going away back into here. I could put a car back in here, going away. It then passed by the car. So they won't interfere with those people walking. It's going by. It's going that way. This was our place to be. This was Joe Morris, was located right here. The bar was right here. Joe Morris' house was right there. Mr. Frank's shoe shop was on the corner. Harry Valley was on the corner, and the Playhouse was across the street. There's 3 clubs in this block, but this was our preferable place. We stopped here. The night Calvin Poirier got back from New York, we met around here. And when he started talking about New York, I had to say something in defense of New Orleans. So I said that New Orleans was the Big Easy. If you can't make it in New Orleans, you can't make it nowhere. So from then on, everybody back here started calling New Orleans the Big Easy. And it spread from here to Great Town to the rest of Hollywood Grove and all over the city. And that's how the word got out. But that's how New Orleans got that name, the Big Easy, as a defense against New York, which is called the Big Apple. But we all right here. This was our, before the storm and before the fire thing, this was our place to be, Joe Morris. The best little club back of town. No rowdiness, always neat and clean, family run and operated, no trouble, nice pool table to shoot on, play cards, good music, this was it. And every now and then they cook here. But this was the spot. This was the spot. Back in my last year at Xavier. That was about 1959. 1959 is when all that happened. Many of the things that I encountered over my years, I am 90 years old at my next birthday. So I've seen quite a lot of things that you don't see anymore.
Where you see streets today, you could take a boat from Canal Place, from the beginning, into the lake, which is from down there to this about 9.5 miles. There was no road there to get there. You used the boat to go to Mandeville, to go to Madisonville, to go to Coving. Those are the little towns on the other side. And that's what he still sees.
I did a series of the chimney sweepers. Nobody's seen a chimney sweeper for years, but I remember them, and I did a series of painting on them.
Yeah, the chimney sweeper series was in a museum. He had this in one of the New Orleans museums. This was one of my wife's favorite paintings. She thought that he did a fantastic job because she said you could see the eyelashes of the woman standing in the doorway here. For me, I like his artwork because, it's not complicated, and it doesn't give you, where you have to stand there and look at it and try to figure it out. You can look at what he have done, and it's simplified, very simplified, where you can understand what he's doing, and you can look at the greatness of what he's doing.
But there are very, 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 very few left who actually painted New Orleans. And Cotton knew two of them quite well. In fact, there's one painting on a wall here was one of his. They knew each other, but he's dead now. They made their living painting, and there are not many left now. They all pretty well all gone, and the young people did not take that.
Much better. Okay. Now. Okay. You don't want that to be too hard. Set it in there where it won't be too hard. All of my early summers, I used to go to the country every summer. I'd go by my people. At my uncle's house, my grandfather, who was his father, lived. His name was Tom Davis. He was born between 1835 and 1838 because he was 110. That means he was born before the war started. He was born a slave. All the 1940s, when I go to the country and I go see my uncle, I'd always see my grandfather. And he died in 1948. But before he died, he told me that he was born in Virginia. And his wife, who was my grandmother, was born in the Carolinas. She was born, I think, in North Carolina. But they both were brought down south before the Civil War because it was undecided whether or not Virginia was going to be free of slave. My grandfather was a child who watched the chickens, he said, for the master. And one day, a chicken laid an egg that he didn't report. He didn't report one egg that a chicken had laid. And for that, he got a beating. Then later on, they sold him. And he made that walk down the Natchez, called the Natchez Trace. And he walked from Virginia to Natchez, Mississippi. A whole lot of them made that trip. The man who bought him had a plantation about 30 miles from Natchez. And they brought him to the plantation. And that's where he spent all of his life, all of his working life, until his son built a house in Jonesville, which was about 13 miles away, and brought him to Jonesville, where I was born at. That's that. Now normally, while this is drying, I'll work on maybe one of those over there. I have a man sitting on that chair, one that I want to put more hump in his back. because he's bending down thinking. I got his shoulders too straight. That one over there is people going to the fields working, picking cotton in the old days. Slaves going to the field. They'd be important, so I got to really, I want the idea of some slaves marching to the field. The weapons is the hoe and the shovels that they work with. And that'll be on their shoulder like rifles. That's my idea for that one over there. I have one in there. I need a cowboy there drawing a pistol. That's not finished yet. I don't like the cowboy. He was too strong in there. He was all in black, and that made him too strong for the picture. So I have to edit it that way. So I'm working on 1, 2, 3, 4 paintings simultaneously. It all depends on what I feel like working on that day and what kind of reference material I got to help me out. But I'm going to let this dry for now, because when I come back, I'm going to come with my chalk and chalk some ideas in and see how that looks. And if that looks all right, then I'll start painting again. Just like I laid, when you came, I had laid these buildings in here in the background. So I laid them down, and I like the way I got them laid. They're not too strong. It's getting an idea, just a mere suggestion of buildings in the background. What little bit I do now, I may have I may include windows and I might not, because windows make you have to do a lot of detail. But I have to put a suggestive windows in here, because this is close, and some in here. That's close. Suggestion. Not strong. Suggestion. And I'll do that. And a car pass in here. Maybe a bus over here at the bus stop. And bop, bop, boop, 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 boop. Street lights. Boop, boop, boop. The street lights will be about this tall right here. Right here. So one here. One here, one here, and maybe just an idea of one way back there. So that's my thinking right now. I may change my mind, but that's the benefit of editing. I can compose as I go. What I don't like, I wipe out, try again. It's the process. To me, that's important. The finished product is all right, but all the little unseen problems and thoughts you have while you're painting the picture and changing, that's the fun of painting to me. It's not written in stone. It's written in water.